The Gospel of Mark.
About those apostles, Mark 3:16 through 18. Hello, we are very excited about Jesus' early ministry learning about this. 12 men that Jesus chose to become his apostles. That's what we're studying now. And now we're going to look to Mark chapter 3, verse 16. He appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, Mark 3:16. The 12 men that Jesus called to become his apostles, they would become the foundation along with the prophets of the whole church. And the church would grow and grow. We remember back in Mark chapter 1 when Jesus called Simon. Let's look back at this and read about it in this verse. It's verses 16 and 17. He called him and he dropped his things and followed him. Passing alongside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew, the brother of Simon, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." Mark 1:16 and 17. Simon, who we really know as Peter, well, Jesus named him Peter. And the reason is because it meant rock. He would become the rock of the church. Jesus and Peter, they were very close. They developed a close relationship over the 3 years of Jesus' ministry. Later, Peter would deny Jesus 3 times, and he would say things that were not right. From that time, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." Matthew 16:21 through 23. Peter, he would fail and fail again, but he became standing strong, not wavering. Now, we're going to look at the next verse in Mark, chapter 3, verse 17. James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges, that is, sons of thunder. Mark 3:17. Jesus, he met James and John, and they were brothers. Let's look back to Mark 1 and read about them. And going on a little farther, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were in their boat mending the nets. And immediately he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired servants and followed him. Mark 1:19 and 20. James and John, they were called the sons of thunder. Now, why is that? Why were they called that? Well, let's look to a passage in Luke, and it explains about this, about what happened with them and Jesus. When the days drew near for him to be taken up, he set his face to go to Jerusalem, and he sent messengers ahead of him, who went and entered the village of the Samaritans to make preparations for him. But the people did not receive him, because his face was set toward Jerusalem. And when his disciples, James and John, saw it, they said, "Lord, do you want us to tell fire to come down from heaven and consume them?" But he turned and rebuked them. Luke 9:51 through 55. James and John, they saw the people of Samaria, and these people were not welcoming to Jesus. When he entered into their city, James and John, they said to Jesus, "You want us to call down fire from heaven and kill them?" But Jesus, he looked at them and he rebuked them. Jesus, he did not come to earth to destroy people. He came to save people. The apostles, they had to learn from experience. They had to learn what to do, which is to serve people and to show love to people. Let's go ahead and look at the next verse. Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew and Thomas and James the son of Alphaeus and Thaddeus and Simon the Zealot. Mark 3:18. We finished reading in Mark about Andrew, and he dropped his work along with his brother Peter and followed Jesus. And now we're going to read about Philip, another apostle that Jesus called. Let's look at the next verse. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." John 1:43. Next, we're going to look at a couple of verses that come after the verse that we just read in 1 John. Is about Jesus calling Nathanael. Let's look. Now Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." John 1:44 and 45. Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." John 1:49. Most of the men who are biblical scholars, have great biblical knowledge, they believe that Nathanael and Bartholomew are the same person. Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew and Matthew. Mark 3:18. We're not really sure. The Bible's not clear about, if it's Nathanael or Bartholomew. We're not really sure about the name. Anyway, Matthew, he also had another name. Back before, when he was a tax collector at his job, he was called Levi. Then Jesus called him, and he left his work and followed Jesus. As he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. Mark 2:14. We have another verse in the book of Matthew, and it talks about this same thing, about Matthew leaving his work to follow Jesus. As Jesus passed on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. Matthew 9:9. The apostle Matthew. Why did he have another name, Levi? Well, the name Levi was actually his Hebrew name. And then the name Matthew is his Greek name. Okay, we have just finished learning about 7 of the apostles: Peter, James and his brother John, Andrew, Philip, Nathanael, and Matthew. In our next devotion, we're going to learn about the remaining 5 apostles. Coram Deo.
To live coram Deo is to live one's entire life in the presence of God, under the authority of God, to the glory of God. Everyday Breadcrumbs, Devotional Studies for the Deaf by Brad and Tammy Schaaf. Taught in American Sign Language by Brad and voiceover by his wife, Tammy. All verses are from English Standard Version. Brad Dale Schaaf at gmail.com.